Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this morning we want to try to cover a few little things, but I want to get out the way the results of the election. I noticed the news media gave figures that the mayor won by 75, 79%. And we sitting back say 79% of what? It's overwhelmingly. Well, I don't know if you all got it yet. But if you're going to determine uh, what's happening in the vote, you got to determine it by how many people is registered that voted or didn't vote. 469,139 Detroiters are registered to vote. Only for the mayor. Only 100,614 voted, 21.4%. In other words, only 100,000 out of 469,000 people voted in Detroit. The mayor got only 72,450 votes. That's 15% of the registered voters, 15.7 being precise. Coleman Young got 28,164. That's 6% of the registered voters. At the poll, 68,667 people went to the poll. No poll I seen when I looked at all the precincts got over 95 people, just a few, got over 95 people went to the poll all day of the election. 31,947 voted absentee. They don't have the figures of how many of the absentee that Duggan got and how many the absentee that Young got. That's very fishy. Something wrong with that, because if they got the lady told me just today, just about 30 minutes ago, well, we don't have that results. I said, how did you get the results of 31,947? I don't go there and vote. In general, I ain't vote for nobody. I'm just voting absentee. No, I have to vote for either Young or Duggan. So why they don't give that and they got to wait 2 weeks? But what was interesting about that, I looked and seen who was behind the mayor. East Side slate, Black slate, Fannie Lou Hermer, the 100 preachers, just say the Council of Baptist preachers, Warren Evan, Napoleon, Benner Napoleon, all the big powerful leaders, and they could only get out, and they got millions of dollars backing them, Pesky, all them, they could only get out at the poll 68,000 voters. That means, ladies and gentlemen, we now know who is the internal enemy. They all came out, took photos.
Yes.
And we know their strength. We know the big time members that goes to Greater Grace,
Yes.
to Vance's church, to Hollis Church. Most of those people don't live in Detroit and they can't vote in Detroit. And the local people are, I heard, is declining in those churches. So therefore, the ministers is not the power in the city. The ministers are paper taggers, just titles. And we know that the union leaders, when you got over 81% of the local population that's working age 16 to 64 don't have a job, we know that the labor leaders are also paper taggers. All we got to do now is organize the people. They are out of the way. They can take folk, and I think the power structure is going to know they're out of the way. Most preachers are losing members. That's why they're running to Duggan and trying to get some money to sustain themselves.
That's right.
So we shouldn't be disturbed about they left. They betrayed us. No, we're in war. When you're in war, you want to know who your friends and who your enemy is. But they came out and told us that they don't try to forward our aspiration and the dreams we've been had since slavery. They came and lined it up behind Duggan so that the corporation dreams could be realized. That means those are enemies that you could never trust, like a snake. When you know a snake is a snake and you bring him in your house and he bites you and you keep him and they bite you again, it's on you.
That's right.
So I say we should ditch those leaders, so-called leaders. They don't lead no one. And their members should look at them too. Because those members, maybe the preacher give them a chicken sandwich or everything. They got children and grandchildren. Those ministers not moving to help their children and grandchildren. They're destroying the future of their grandchildren. They're setting the highway to what you call suburban enclaves. That's the new reservation that they have set up for blacks in this country. That's where we're going. You never hear them talk about that, but I'm going to give you all some documents. All those spooks that lined it up behind Duggan, they know that the majority of us is in the plan of corporations is to put us, the second people, in reservations like the Indians already is on reservation. Yes. And the reservation they call suburban enclaves. Ferguson and many more across this country. And I will get documents in the future so you all can know there's many more. Ferguson is an enclave. Enclave means you got a little territory, Ferguson, and all around Ferguson is suburbs. No jobs in there, and an immigrant financed by the Small Business Administration, like the immigrants here got a monopoly. They was financed by the Small Business Administration, our tax money. And the government did that so that white working and black workers would not unite. They got afraid when all those plants left the suburbs in 2000 to 2010 and go to China and elsewhere. White workers lost their white skin privilege. White workers had started grumbling. Some went to Barry Sanders in the election. Some went to Trump. That means they hurt, and they're trying to look for some salvation. They're losing their white skin privilege. White skin privilege means you got a permanent job, and you can buy baseball tickets for the season. Well, they losing that. They lost that privilege. So the power structure decided we can't let this happen. How are we going to do it? We're going to use President John Kennedy's plan. We're going to bring in immigrants that'll be so happy, and you notice that all these stores, they've got flags. They're not going to unite with the blacks, so we're going to finance them so they'll be in the black community, make their living. So whites won't have nobody to unite with when they get mad at the system. And we can still keep the tactics of divide the working people by color lines. Because they'll be mad at blacks because all blacks will be on welfare. Right. So that's what the election showed me. I looked and seen that the big time ministers ain't big time. Mm-hmm. The union leaders set out leaders that represent the labor aristocracy of UAW. They are not no power neither. They're paper taggers. People asked on what show, what is power? For press people all over the world, power is a social force. Because you got no money, you're oppressed, you're exploited. So since you got no money, the only thing you got is numbers. And Dr. King says, we are oppressed as a people. And once you're oppressed as a people, we can only realize our liberation through activity as a people, not programs of an individual go to college and go and train himself and come out and get a good job. And that's how some kind of way all of a sudden an individual going to be a we. It don't even add up no kind of way in our life. It don't add up. So I just want to mention that. But the next thing when I went over the how many people had houses. What was the housing conditions of the people of Detroit? I found out through research that only 14% of the working age in Detroit got a job. Thanks to 100 square miles Detroit Future City, they said only 33% of the employed in Detroit are African Americans. Out of over 240,000 people working in the city of Detroit, only 33% is African American. And when you take that percent and you time it by, you take 240,000, time it by 33%, you will get 78,000, rounded off, black people in Detroit is working. And majority of those who are working, they are making pretty much $10,000 and under.
Yes, crumbs.
The black middle class has been destroyed by the leaders of the black middle class collaborating with state government and federal government. The middle class blacks are your government workers. The middle class used to be farmers who was between the industrial private workers who work for factories and private business and the owners, the stockholders and the capitalists who are capitalists. They own the factory, hire and the business and hire workers. Well, the battle was between the workers, the working private sector, and the owners. Right. And that's where all profit, all interest, all rent come from. It don't come from government workers. The government depends on taxes from those two groups, from the capitalists that own the business and the workers who work in private business. They pay taxes to the government. So the government lives off of revenue. It don't produce capital in capitalist society. And those workers that work for the city government and the school system, in 2000, it was about over 20-something thousand in the city government, workers, mostly blacks, thanks to Coleman Young.
Right.
And in the state government, there was over 20-something thousand. To take back over to the city of Detroit, they had to destroy both governments. We had two governments in here. The state government, where you're talking about education institution, they had over 22,000. And the city government. And the black political careers of the city council and the black board of education, political careers, that's how Kay Evers became a board of education, then a member. Then she graduated, went on to the city government, to mayor, the council. They, as a stepping stone, was the so those political careers collaborated with the state and privatized a lot of the activity in the schools, in the school system, and in the city government. The very leaders of the middle class, once they got elected to positions, the Board of Education and the city government, they destroyed their constituents that was working. They destroyed the people of their own strata. So no Klansmen came in and reduced the numbers. It was the successive city council and the successive board of education, black political careers that destroyed the middle class. They privatized it, and all of the functions of the school system and of the city government is done by authorities, corporations, and not government workers. So the function of those two governments is not in the hands of the Board of Education, neither is it in the hand of the city government, the mayor, or the city council. We have been totally dismantled. And the people we elected since '94 in city council, they collaborated, and here's how they collaborated. The state would write up a memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding. And then the city council would say, we're going to have a public meeting. And we line up, appealing, that's lobbying, appealing to the city council. Don't do this. Before the city council do it, make they vote, they whole lots of police in the city council building, in the city county building, in the Coleman Young building. And they put it in that little room. They don't put it in the auditorium. Make it, and we all lined up. And then somebody got a paper before our face. 1 minute, 1 minute.
1 minute.
And after everybody say no, they vote yes.
Right.
They took the zoo, took everything. These are our hard-earned tax dollars.
Right.
That they took. We didn't elect them to dismantle this city. We haven't had a vote on nothing
Right.
in the last 20-something years.
Right.
The city council, that's how they collaborated with the state through those memorandum of agreements, grand bargain. But only they could vote. We didn't vote. But the water company, the Cobo Hall,
Right.
Eastern Market belonged to us.
Right.
It didn't belong to the city council.
Cobo.
Cobo Hall, all of it belonged to us.
Yes.
They dismantled it. And now we find ourselves backed up against the wall.
Right.
We don't have no political representation that we can say, hey, express our interests, defend our interests. We have nothing. We got political careers that went in office as career to enhance their individual career. And then when they go in office, that means they are up for sale.
That's right.
And all of them sold themselves to corporation. When they do that and carry out corporation will and not the ones who elected them, they are political oligarchs.
Right.
100% in Detroit, that's what we got. And we got the Council of Baptist Pastors is their social prop.
Yep.
Been keeping them in the office with the clerk's office. Daniel Baxter, really, not Winfrey, but Daniel Baxter is the coon that knows all the tricks. He did he made sure if we voted no, he turned our vote into yes. And they selected the mayor. That's why the mayor in the debate, if you could notice him, he was nervous.
Sweating.
And if you notice, the news media did not have nothing in the print, in the papers about the election. Hardly nothing on TV. Because they know he did not win by no write-in. And they figured, with Coleman Young them hitting the buses and stuff, that they was going to raise enough people. So if they say, if we don't say nothing, the people got short memories, they won't even know to go to the poll.
Mm-hmm.
And we still got these ministers, they going to get the vote out for us. But then the ministers shown that they got no connection with the people of Detroit.
Getting paid. Getting paid.
And all of them, I was gave by a revolutionary that I've been knowing for a good while, a list. The campaign, they had to turn in how they spent their money. Black slate with dashikis coming from the Black Madonna. Loved black people, but took money from Livonia Mike.
Sold us out.
Then I looked and seen Kingfish and the East Side slate. Kingfish is Ernest Johnson. That's what I've been calling him ever since I met him and back in the around the Barton, the casino stuff. Kingfish got a lot of money. And the big guy, Malik, never had a job, got a house and a car, and got 6 TV stations, shows. He's on this list. The only body I didn't find was Reverend Holly. Reverend Holly said he didn't get no money the last time I heard him. He said he get contracts. So, when I looked at all this, Fannie Lou Hamer, we know who the enemies are. It's get the campaign contribution list. You can get it from. I think you can get it from the election office. That they would have this and tell you how much money the
sellouts all got.
Yeah, the sellouts got. So I said, what kind of power do we have? King said power is a social force for all oppressed people. But our task is to organize that social force. And that social force is the people. Only the people. Organized can stop this steamroll over us through the collaboration of our so-called leaders. Only the people. And I know some of you all that went to meetings with the grassroots activists. You have never heard them say, you know what? We ain't got enough people. If we're going to have a boycott, ordinary people got to know about it. No, what they do, go to the enemy's press and say, we're going to have a press conference. We're going to stand in front of the spirit of Detroit, and we're going to, no justice, no peace. And when they say that, march around that statue, police telling them, don't get on the street. And then the guards of Coleman Young and them don't get on the grass,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
tiptoeing. No justice, no peace.
Yeah.
No justice for an hour
Tiptoeing.
and leave. Who seen them? Only the 106, about 80,000 from the suburbs come downtown. The people of the neighborhood didn't see them.
Right. That's right.
Only those suburbians that come in here and they just looking at them. What are they over there doing? But these activists, I found out, all of them are 501c3. I'm gonna get that list too.
Yeah.
They get paid. They never had a job. They full-time activists. They got a house. They got a car. They ain't got nothing from the people because they can't raise 20 people at a demonstration. So they ain't being paid by the people. Who is paying them? Corporation is paying them.
Yeah.
Paid them over the years.
Yeah.
They got a 501c3 nonprofit organization. They can go to Kellogg. They can go to a Ford Foundation, General Motors Foundation, whatever these foundations, and they can say, I'm helping the neighborhood. I'm going to have some farming in the city, and I'm going to help children. And they give them $5 or $10, $1,000.
Yeah. They should have been saying they helping brainwash the neighborhood. That's what they should have been saying.
That's right.
That's what they're trying to do. Have us drink some of that Kool-Aid that they've been drinking from the corporate. It's sad that it's like that, man. So you hitting the nail on the head with all you saying. If you want realness, listen to this show. We're going to give it to you real and raw, like it's supposed to be.
Now, to cut it off, short, what can we do? I read an article in the paper about Mary Sheffield fighting for the people, affordable houses. And she said, we need affordable houses for the people. And if they make 5% in the area, like downtown, 5% of these houses, but the people that move in them got to make 80% of the average salary down here. Well, the average salary down there is $60,000, $70,000 or more.
Right.
So you got to make 80% of that. That means that left all of black Detroiters out.
That's right.
Maybe some blackie from the suburbs who got contempt for us that moved there from the beginning because he didn't want to be bothered with us. He might can go down there, one or two. But us can't go down there. So when I looked at they said the average wage for the city of Detroit is $25,764. I said, let me see what they done to us, how they dismantled the city without our vote, stole robbed. It was armed robbery because you remember every time you go down there, you go give away something, they'll increase the police. And had on TV, police just wrestling with everybody at the city county. The old black was just wrestling. That was armed robbery. That's a crime. They robbed us with guns. The guns was on the polices in the city county building. That's armed robbery.
Yeah.
When they took all the factories out of this city and would let us follow our jobs because they had policies, housing policies. They had those policies to prevent us from moving where the job at. And then we had 165 streetcars that was going all over southeast Michigan. They eliminated them and sold it to New Mexico for $1 million. So we couldn't commute where the jobs was, and we can't live in the suburbs because FHA, as the Federal Housing Administration, would say, okay, Blonde and Dagwood, you can get you a house out here. New house. Tell them
Yeah, break. You got to do it, break.
no appetizing.
Yeah. You just go do a break.
Okay, no after that. We're going to have a break for a minute. Okay, I'm back. We're going to get these lines in a few minutes, but I want to say this. We must attract young people.
Yes.
The young people of Detroit is a transit population. They got no jobs, or like the welfare mothers that makes $2,000 for one child, $2,649 a year. $2,649 a year. That means monthly, if you break that up into 12 as every month to live on, $228.75. The average rent in Detroit, according to the U.S. Census, $771. But we know it's more than that. Young people told me it's over $800. Now look at this again. Let's go back. The mother and children with one child, that one child, they only make $228.75 a month. Cannot afford a place. That's why they're living under viaducts with their children. That's why they might get a place. Somebody, maybe some old guy like me, one of them young girls walk by and wink at me, and I get that monthly, and I'm sure, what do you know, ain't nothing I can do, maybe just, whatever. And I help her out. But I can't keep doing it, right? So she's living in with no lights, no water, and her kid got to go to school, can't see at night to do homework. Then I looked and seen the other workers work for bars, restaurants. They call tip workers. Tip workers in Michigan make on an average of $5.52 an hour. They depend on tips. That means yearly they only make $10,599. Every month it's $883.20. They can just pay rent. No lights, no gas, no water. That's tip workers. The minimum workers that work at McDonald's that wants $15 an hour, they make in Michigan $8.50 an hour. That means that's $1,360 a month. They can't pay all of it. If they pay that $800, then they can't pay the rent. That means the utilities. They constantly going up. Because when the DTE cut off one, or the water cut off a house, they got to make up for that shortfall, so they raise the price on us who still got it. So the ever-increasing utility is making it impossible for the minimum wage people to have a job. And the next one that makes about 11 something an hour, I think they're going to kind of get away with it. They also can barely pay the rent and utilities. Don't have no money. So I said, since they have committed a crime against us, and I'm going to talk about the crime how it really was committed against us since the 50s. Affordable houses should be according to the income, not the market. That's a form of restitution for the crime they have committed against the people of Detroit. Any development to attract people, that strategy creates an inverse relationship. They take from us to build downtown. They gave them tax breaks.
That's right.
Those tax breaks it takes from us.
That's right.
Instead of the money from the casino and the arena going into the general fund, it's going to tax increment and to the Downtown Development Corporation for Council District 5, not for the whole of Detroit. So they look at the jobs. Now they had 8,000 city workers. Laid them all off, take their pension. Last year, 9,000 and some workers increase. Then I read an article. City jobs up for grab. But it don't guarantee those that's working all down there that they're going to have a job. They don't have the skills. These are the Duggan's appointees. They don't have the skills. So what do the city workers that's working down there, 8,000, what they do? Well, the city going to help them find a job outside of the city. They got jobs in the water at our expense. We lost jobs, they got jobs. That means an inverse relationship. They take from us to build downtown and to take from us to build the budget on the state. That's what's been happening to us. And those so-called leaders we got, political leaders, they have been collaborating. So I'm going to end there, but remember, we're going to set the standard about affordable houses must be according to our income, and I'm going to explain how we're going to enforce that later. But I'm here too long. Let some people talk and see what's happening.
All right, callers, we're coming to you. We need you to hit the point what you're speaking on. Oh. Okay, caller, you're on. Hello? Hello, caller? Caller, you're on.
Can you hear? Maybe they can't hear.
Let's go to caller.
Yeah, I'll put them on hold.
Okay, caller, you on.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hi, Mr. Tyrone. It's Brenda.
Hey, Brenda.
How are you? And I was saying, this is such a wonderful show. You're getting so much information out and a perspective that maybe some of the listeners didn't have before. They have to understand the propaganda that's being put out there about ordinary citizens. We know that there are a lot of black workers that are not getting the jobs that are qualified to get jobs inside the city. They continue to say that we don't have qualified workers to get these skilled trade jobs. That's not true. What they're doing is either hiring those skilled trade workers and only keeping them for 80 days so that they can get the subsidies, or they're not hiring them at all. So, I mean, they're working against us. And also, we know that they don't pay black contractors. The city doesn't. Well, I mean, we know a number of black contractors that are suing the city right now for their pay. We have one working in the office, and they owe them almost $1 million, and they tried to settle. Duggan tried to settle for 17%. So there are no black contractors that want to deal with the city because they're not going to get paid. And then they turn around and blame us. And that's what happens on a plantation.
You're right. I do know my he's my nephew. When Gilbert moved down there, he went and worked for Gilbert and them group, Quick and Long, and he had some traffic tickets, and they got rid of him. Then a friend of mine's daughter was working down there, and they got rid of her for something like that. And they had to have those black faces to show, but they are doing just like they did when I seen in Washington D.C., Virginia. They had those blacks for a show when they to keep all the other blacks quiet, and then they finally got rid of them. That's what happened in other cities already.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
All right, caller, you on?
Hey, Kenny, Ty, this is Deputy Chief. How you guys doing?
I'm
You're
doing
good.
fine. How you doing, Deputy Chief?
I'm good. Hey, Ty, I agree with you on this issue of these collaborators. Before we do anything, we must identify who the collaborators are going forward. And I know the goal is to organize the people. That's the only way we're going to be able to accomplish anything, but we must identify these collaborators. We know people can endorse and vote for whoever they want to, but there's got to be consequences when you go against the people. You can't come back to the black community talking about unity, coming together, or love. And we should not support these collaborators in any of their programs or causes or anything. And, I hear a lot of people talking about, who are the collaborators? Who are these people? And for a lot of us, we see it. We seen it the other day when they surrounded the elected mayor. We know Jim Holly, Malik Shabazz, Akila Redmond, Wendell Anthony, Kim Worthy, Warren Evans, Benny Napoleon, Bishop Ellis, Bishop Coletta Vaughn, Edgar Van, Bill Brooks, Betty Brooks, Buzz Thomas, Sonia Mays, Bernice Smith, Charlie Beckham, Janice Winfrey, Keith Alma and Misha Stallworth, Jim Jenkins, Ernest Johnson, Brenda Jones, Janae Ayers, Cushionberry, Sheffield, Spivey, Tate, Leland, Benson, Bishop Merritt, Latanya Garrett, Carolyn Chiefs Kilpatrick, Charles Adams, Fred Duhall, Morris Hood, Leslie Love, Brian Banks, Keith Williams, NAACP, the Urban League, Fannie Lou Hamer, Turnaround Detroit, Theo Broughton, Joanne Watson, the Black Slate, the East Side Slate, the Shrine of the Black Madonna, the Council of Baptist Pastors, Wayne T. Jackson, Jonathan Kenlock, Tom Wilson, Rick Blocker, Virgil Smith, Tyrone Carter, Keith Johnson, Horace Sheffield, Hester Wheeler, Bert Johnson, Ian Conyers, John Conyers, Betty Cook Scott, Martha Scott, Irma Clark, Brenda Lawrence, New Detroit, Dennis Archer Jr., Sheila Cockrell, Ken Cockrell Jr., the leadership of the 13th and 14th Congressional District, the leadership of ASME Local 25, the leadership of the DPOA, lieutenants and sergeants, the commanders, and the Detroit firefighters. Those are the collaborators that we must identify, let people know who they are, and we should work against them.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful.
All right. Have a good day. I like your program.
Okay, now.
Thank you. All right, caller. Hello, caller.
That line something is wrong.
All right, caller, go ahead.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Good.
How you doing?
I'm just calling in to say he mentioned some names of people that really works with us. Joanne Watson should not be on that list.
The same thing for Theo Broden. They are good people. They do a lot for this city. I can call out some others. You know, he just put the whole line of everybody in there. We should concentrate on the sellouts. That's something like the head of the NAACP.
Okay.
Definitely don't go to those dinners. Don't. All he does is sell dinners. Don't go. Don't join and don't attend. And march. I'm talking about people like Malik Shabazz and Johnson. They are sellouts. You should never participate in anything they do.
Yeah.
If they ask you to do this or that, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And until we put our foot down, we'll never make it. We
right.
should make those things first.
Yes.
Everybody who took money are sellouts.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Now, you can't add all the people in there because I know of several others that are working with us.
Yeah.
Be careful. Don't throw out the baby with the water. I mean, you just can't destroy everybody and accomplish anything. Nobody does. Concentrate on the few, the head demons.
That's right.
Malik Shabazz,
Right.
Johnson,
Yes.
Right.
Holly.
that minister Holly,
Reverend Holly.
because he gives out, he had every business you could think of.
Yeah.
And I tried to work with him in every business he started. But he's still switching from one to another. Pharmacy, food, everything that I participated in. And it was the worst food. I mean, don't fall for any of those contracts. He's just a money-making preacher.
That's right. That's right.
Please remember that.
That's right.
So we got to deal with Wendell Anthony.
That's
He
right.
is a snake.
In the grass.
And in the church. But he's going to have to answer to God for all of that.
Yeah.
He took money for himself now.
Yeah.
But there are people, his members within the church, the water being cut off. I mean, what kind of pastor is that? He's not even doing anything to help his neighborhood. That church should be open to feed the hungry. People out there, you don't see him walking the street helping people.
No. No.
Please deal with him, Malik Shabazz, and Johnson first. Get them off. Don't do anything they ask you to do. Let them live off the mayor from now on.
That's right.
Let them live off it since they sold us out. But they're not going to be selling us out and then coming to our face. Come help me march on the corner with this and help me march on the. He's been in crime all his life. From what I heard, he grew up in it. So what is he doing? Selling us out? That's ridiculous.
It's sad.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. You know, it's very sad that we get our so-called wannabe leaders to come to us and ask us to do certain things, and then behind our back, in the closed doors, they working deals with the enemy, and then expect us to stand by their side. And then when we say stuff about them, they want to get mad. But the truth is the light, and the truth hurts. And a lot of times people get mad because the truth hurts, and it's the truth. And it's sad that they step up to the plate and try to play both sides of the fence, you know what I'm saying, with the black folks. We have to see through that. And like the last caller said, she's right. You know, we have to step back and let them work with the enemy, because that's who they voted for. You know, it's sad that we're like that. You know, I look around and see how this city is, and first thing they say, they want to let him finish what he started. Well, what the heck did he start in the community for the ground root people? You know, we have to stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe with these so-called leaders and things. You know, I'm my own leader. We all leaders. So we don't need a person to stand up in front of us and tell us we have to fall for the banana in the tailpipe and things. You know, they tell us that, you know, what Doug can go do. It's not because he's white. It's because he wasn't right. You know, it's sad that we use that. They try to say we use a race card. It's not a race card. We're not agreeing with them because look at the city, look at the community, the neighborhood. We don't have nothing. They tell us we own the alleys. The light is out in my alley. They tell me I got to pay, but I'm paying taxes where I live at, and I'm going to pay you to put a light bulb in the telephone pole behind my house because it's in the alley. I mean, black folks, we got to wake up, and we got to get smarter than what we are, and quit falling for the banana in the tailpipe. And with all these preachers telling us, this and that, the same stuff they've been telling us for years. When we die, we go get our mansions, but all the other races got theirs now. But black folks have to wait till they leave here. And I haven't seen no preacher come back and tell us, oh, the mansions up there is beautiful. You got one too. I seen your name up there on yours. Quit falling for that. Quit putting your trust in the wrong people. Believe, in your community, building your community, building the young folks. The schools is terrible in our community. And y'all voting for this man talking about let him finish what he started. Every time it's voting time, here come everybody talking about what they go do, and they should have been did it when they was in office. Same with the city councils. It's sad. So y'all wake up, black folks. I mean, let's keep it real. And quit falling for the banana in the tailpipe and listen to these so-called wannabe leaders, because none of them are my leader. I'm my own leader. And I ain't going to follow, I follow me, and if they can't understand that, then that's on them, But I'm going to turn it back over to Tyrone. It's just sad that we like that, We're going to take this call here. Go ahead, caller. You on.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen. How are you both?
We're fine.
That's good, and you're talking some good stuff this morning. I agree. We have double agents, traitors, black boulets, et cetera, infiltrated in our society, and this has been our problem as black people our entire lives. Back in slavery, we had those that ran back and told master who was learning how to read and who was trying to run to freedom. So, it must be in our DNA. I have never seen a group of people that will not stick together for anything.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous, very disheartening and frustrating. But the conclusion is the only thing we could do is get like-minded people together and move on that front.
Right on.
Everybody who thinks like you and I, we have to get together and, try to do the best we can with what we have, because it's just too many of them running around here. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And we are so gullible, and we look at everything on its face. We can't read between the lines, and we just go for whatever.
That's right.
So it's only a few of us that have common sense, it looks like.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention, about the election. But I'm going to mention the election about in 2013 between Benny Napoleon and Mike Duggan.
Yes.
This is why a lot of people don't vote. What sense does it make for Benny Napoleon, who had a stellar career in law enforcement, a lifelong Detroiter? He had notoriety. Everybody knew of him. He was the prince of Detroit, so to speak, if you will. What sense did it make for a white man from the most racist city in the state to come in here and win, period, let alone as a write-in?
Yes.
That doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. Nobody wrote that man's name in that many times to beat Benny Napoleon. And this is why a lot of people say the fix is in when it comes to Detroit elections.
That's right.
And I'll thank you very much.
And I thank you, and you're correct. All right, caller, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning.
Tyrone.
Yes.
Tyrone, yes. Could you go back and just repeat one thing for me about, you said in 1994, that's when they started taking over the school system?
Say what now?
Did you say in 1994, that's when they started taking over the school system?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, I want to share something with you. I remember when I started listening to WCHB, and you were saying it was going to be a city within a city.
Yeah.
And so I would share these things with, I'm just going to be honest, I have two sisters that are teachers. And so they kept saying, Keith Johnson, oh, he knows the contract. Oh, he knows that contract. Oh, no. It's nothing going to happen to our school system. And guess what? When they schools closed down, they got outed out. So when you say these things, I thank you for saying that, and keep that out and about, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and you have a wonderful day. Hi, Candle Man.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you
I'm
for
doing
calling
fine.
in.
Okay, all right, you all take care, okay?
Okay now.
Okay, bye-bye.
I want to mention one more thing. Keith Johnson is really one of the sellouts. Talking about he voting for Duggan, and he knows how everything was going. You know, it's sad. You know, it's sad that he's one of the big sellouts too. We forgot to mention him. Okay, caller, we coming to you.